Hello again.
Question of the week, number
6.
Okay.
Six.
Six.
I don't know. How do you,
Quattro, seis.
6. I don't know.
Yeah. Comes from Instagram once again, from Llama Misfits. What bands influence you guys?
Heavy question.
Yeah, it is a heavy question. I think me personally, when I got into playing drums, it was around 2005. Biggest bands punk-wise around that was Green Day, Simple Plan, Good Charlotte, Sum 41. A lot of my favorites. I grew up on that stuff. That's when I got into rock music, and that's this type of stuff that I listen to all the time. And there's plenty of more bands, ironically the guy's name is Misfits. That's a big influence of ours. We did an all Misfits cover set once. That was a really cool show. Yeah, I don't know. Those are the main influences. I used to have posters of them, and also Linkin Park around my drum set in my basement, because I felt like that's the bands that made me want to play drums. So I would say those 4 are definitely my biggest influences.
Okay, the bands that influenced me. So when I started playing music, I was really influenced by, growing up, I was pushed on rock and roll. My mom was really into rock and roll. She went to an art school in the city in the 80s, and she always talked about how during her senior prom, her and her friends left early, they ditched, and they went to see the Ramones. And ever since she told me that story, I was like, I gotta listen to the Ramones. So the Ramones are really, as far as punk, influenced me. Also, when I was learning guitar, picking up music, the Kinks. My favorite songwriter there is Ray Davies, the singer-songwriter of the Kinks, because the guy can write really cool lyrics, really silly lyrics about, in Lola, picking up a tranny and bringing her home and then realizing it the next day, or some songs there's a song called Misfits, which is about just growing up and the trial and error of growing up. So the Kinks. And then if we're talking about now, when I play with these guys, I really draw influences from pop punk band from Jersey, the Ergs, Mikey Erg, really big influence for me. Bands like Screeching Weasel, stuff like that is what I really channel when I'm playing with these guys. So,
going back to Ramones for a second, sorry. My dad actually, he saw them at this venue in Brooklyn. I forget what the hell their name is. Before they were famous, them and a couple other bands he was telling me about, and I think that's so cool. That there was a place we're playing these little venues like that, and it's there was a band like the Ramones playing at a small place like that. I wish I could remember the name of the freaking place. But Kenny.
You'd never be able to tell by the way you hear me play guitar, but it was actually metal music, old school metal music, that influenced me to pick up the guitar instrument. I started listening to metal when I was in as far back as young as 2nd grade, thanks to Beavis and Butthead. And I got into punk in middle school when the first Tony Hawk Pro Skater video game came out.
Great soundtrack.
Yeah.
One song in particular was called Superman by Goldfinger.
Yes.
And after that, I just wanted to look up more punk music, more ska music, and so as far as sound, that's the soundtrack to that video game that really got me into new music. I started doing my research on more punk music, and that's what I wanted to play. So metal influenced me to pick up the guitar. Punk is what I wanted to play after listening to all those bands. And the Ramones are my favorite band because for the longest time, I don't pick favorites, but a few years ago they came out with the 2 different documentaries, the Ramones Raw and End of the Century.
Yeah, End of the Century.
After I watched those 2, I was like, this is my favorite band.
Yeah.
And given all their history and everything.
I remember the name of the venue. It's called L'Amour's. I don't know if that means anything to anybody, but L'Amour's, yeah.
They actually moved to Staten Island for
they moved to Staten Island. It wasn't that great. The one in Brooklyn was a lot better. I mean, the Ramones played there.
Just a little history and trivia there.
Yeah.
But just because you started to bring up ska and stuff. Ska, like I've always been through phases in my, like musical phases in my life, but the one that kind of never ended was the ska phase. Okay, so I picked them up in like middle school. When I was in middle school, my best friend was like, "Oh, I really like this band, Real Big Fish. They're really awesome." And I was like, I don't know, I kind of was just against everything at that point in my life, so I was like, nah, they probably suck. But then I started listening to them, and I was like, this is so funny and good, and I love it. And then I started listening to them, and then bands like Mustard Plug and, you know, Goldfinger and stuff like that. And that stuff always stayed with me and has been an influence for me.
They're actually playing a show with Less Than Jake in March.
Yeah. I saw them with
I'm going to that.
Less Than Jake. That was like my first like real concert, actually, them and Less Than Jake.
Yeah.
I went with my friend's mom when we were like 13.
He reminded me too, Newfound Glory, big influence of mine. I love Newfound Glory. There's also this really cool band now. They're mostly acoustic now, but back in like a few years ago, they're called This Wildlife. They were like a full punk band. They're a really big influence of mine too. We can go on for days.
Yeah.
There's just so many bands that influenced us, but yeah.
So thank you to Llama Misfits.
Hopefully we answered your question.
Good question, by the way.
Yes.
Yes.
And ask us more, people. Come on.
Ask us
Anything.
whatever you want.
Do it like Nike.
Do you need advice?
So, I mean, like, the more questions you answer, we're just going to form a trivia game, and we're going to release it in stores, and you're just going to be able to play it all the time. And I know that's probably not what you want to do, but it would make us happy.
You want to know how to ask that girl out and get her?
Don't ask us, because we don't know either.
Yeah, we don't know. We're all single.
Do you want to know how to get rid of your ex-girlfriend?
That we know. That we know.
Don't drive girls away.
Yeah. We have a few songs to talk about that. You can look them up. I'm Sorry, Screw You. Definitely look that one up.